Hello, Apollo. Where shall I begin? So we open up with the Jersey City Devils riding off after their attack on Josephine. Patrick tries to comfort Josephine, but Josephine has a flashback when Patrick touches her and just cries, "Take me home." And we have lyric and graphic novel continuity overlap here. The lyrics, "Take me home," are the last screamed line in Devil in Jersey City, and they're probably the last words that Josephine ever said to Patrick. Elsewhere, Claudio and Neo are also parked enjoying the night, but they remain unattacked. There are parts where the captions don't really match what we're being shown, and one of these is my favorite. This panel is my favorite example, because you have the panel stating, "Claudio and Neo watch the night sky with the passion of young lovers," but in this panel, they are sitting as far away as two people can possibly be sitting on the hood of a car from each other. They're not even touching. They're not even cuddled up. They're literally as far apart as two people can be. And so to describe this as the passion of young lovers is kind of funny to me. And then there's Apollo. Apollo is Claudio's dog. He is the little Dalmatian, and that is Apollo. Claudio realizes he's late for curfew, and then Neo gives him shit for having a curfew. And then Claudio says his parents are gonna kill him for being late. It's funny. It's funny. Do you get it? Because his parents just killed his siblings. That's why it's funny, because his parents will kill him. And he's saying, like, jokingly, like, they'll be really mad, but like, we know he means it. Like, it's funny, right? It's actually kind of a clever line. And then almost as if slamming us for thinking that was kind of a clever line, we now have pockmarked Matthew and Maria cradled in Coheed's arms. The poison did not kill Maria and Matthew peacefully as implied by General Mayo, but caused them to suffocate by choking on these infected boils covering their body. Coheed holds his children, gasping for air, and watches them die. This is what I like about the graphic novel. So in Time Consumer, there's not a lot of time to stop and savor this moment and really feel the full impact of what is happening. And the graphic novel does. It clearly gets across the feeling of Coheed and his actions and what they mean to him and what he has done. I am really flippant about Coheed being Dad of the Year, because in Time Consumer, the song is very flippant about the death of Matthew and Maria, and it doesn't give it a lot of time on its own. The death of Coheed's children really only cover 2 songs, but here you feel the full gut punch of Coheed and what Coheed and Cambria are doing. While Coheed holds the twins, Cambria is downstairs trying to comfort Josephine. Coheed approaches with a hammer. Cambria holds Josephine, who is sobbing, finally able to process her attack in the arms of her mother, finally feeling safe. Cambria uses her knowledge powers to read Coheed's mind and sees what Coheed's about to do and begs him there must be another. But as she's processing Coheed's thoughts, she sees that the poison was horrific for Matthew and Maria and that this is how it has to be done. And Cambria holds Josephine too close as she whispers to Coheed, "Just do it, baby." Patrick, who was waiting out by the car, goes to check up on Josephine and sees Coheed swing a hammer onto her head, killing her in one blow. Patrick runs off into the night. Back at the House Atlantic, Tri-Mage releases the priests. They are what's left of the 11 other mages that used to rule with Tri-Mage Wilhelm Reim over Heaven's Fence, the 12 sectors. By the Mage Wars ended with Wilhelm Reim and the other 11 mages caught, captured, and experimented on to create the priests. And Wilhelm Reim calls for General Mayo. And then we cut to Dil Aruth 9 planet in Sector 12. It's a desert planet. And the prize are in these really cool spacesuits. And the leader of the prize is signified by having this really cool headband. I really like it, and I kind of want to make one for myself. I don't really go to festivals, but if I did, this is the headband I'd be wearing. They barge in to see Lady Antilera, and she is just floating inside. She has red skin and yellowed eyes, and she is naked and just floating in the air. She shuts her own door with, it seems like, magic powers, and asks what's up to the prize while Inferno is hiding in the shadows. Back at the House Atlantic, Wilhelm tells General Mayo that Claudio didn't get killed, and then says, "The son of three, you've heard it before, in the Book of Henensgrad. You know what it's capable of, so dare not speak its name." And so what I've pieced together is that they're talking about the book that holds the question, the prophecy that either God or man will destroy the earth, either man by challenging God and God striking down man, or by God just, I guess, being bored of his creation. General Mayo says he will deal with both. And then Wilhelm says focus on Coheed and Cambria being delivered to Paris, as he will send the priests after Claudio, reminding General Mayo that there is a ticking time bomb. The flies are already in motion. Then General Mayo gets onto the business of transporting Coheed and Cambria and emotionally tortures Cambria with images of her son being captured and killed to try to ascertain the whereabouts of Claudio. This is Coheed's last straw, and his powers finally activate. He hulks out, becoming the beast and growing blades from his right arm, and just like shreds General Mayo's troops. And I would call them stormtroopers because, you know, of their red stormtrooper like outfits, but I kind of feel like that's a bit, General Mayo ends up tranquilizing Coheed and capturing Coheed and Cambria, and that's where we get one of the coolest lines in the graphic novel so far. "Why have you brought this hell into my home? Hell has marked these walls before my arrival. You are man's stab at defying God. You are the Helionaut." Back to Claudio for a brief interlude. Claudio and Apollo are stuck in traffic because of General Mayo's troops, and I'm not exactly sure if Wilhelm Rhein is like a fascist dictator that everybody knows about, or if he is like a shadowy puppet master kind of a government thing. It's not really clarified. He's just a bad dude who has like military-esque troops at its disposal. And then we have this scene, which on the one hand I'm a little uncomfortable with, but on the other hand, it is one of my favorite examples of when I love gratuitous violence. So we have two soldiers are talking about how they're sad that Claudio is still alive instead of Josephine, because then they could have had fun with her. And then one of the soldiers says, "Hey, you still can," to the other soldier who was just lamenting the, lack of an alive girl to assault. The other soldier calls out that soldier for crossing the line and being super gross, because, assault isn't crossing the line, but necrophilia, that's one toe over the line, my friend. Then they get stabbed in a really awesome way. One of the soldiers gets stabbed through the eye, the other one through the head. And this is where I love simulated violence the most, is when a bad guy gets murdered in a truly gruesome way. So I'm not against simulated violence. I love action movies. I love a lot of different things. I find simulated violence to be fun. I used to be a part of a live action role-playing group where I used to do full sword fighting. I like it better when it's not innocent people being murdered, it's terrible people. And so, yay. Yay, simulated violence. And then we pan out to see that it was a priest who killed the two soldiers, the priest that was sent after Claudio, in chapter 2. Okay, so for this chapter, I don't have a song to go over. Everything Evil, some of the events that happened in this chapter are covered in Everything Evil, but it really, really isn't the full song until next chapter, so I'm gonna hold off on that until the next video. So I thought I'd take some time to talk about Claudio Sanchez's side project, the Prize Fighter Inferno, And yes, the Prize Fighter Inferno does refer to Jesse Kilgannon, the character of the same name. So the Prize Fighter Inferno does and does not have overlap with the Amory Wars saga. It is Claudio Sanchez's side project, first and foremost, and he did produce an album called My Brother's Blood Machine, which is a concept album that is and is not part of Amory Wars. Really what it is the Prize Fighter Inferno is telling this story about Earth. Now, how the Prize Fighter Inferno got on Earth is very complicated, and I'm not gonna go over it for a bit until I think the end of this graphic novel, because I have some theories that can be read in the text, but I don't think that they're like official, so I kind of want to wait off on that for a bit. That's really the only overlapping it has with the Amory Wars is it shares. The narrator is the Prize Fighter Inferno, who is Jesse from the Amory Wars, and that's, from what I can tell, where the similarities end. Story of My Brother's Blood Machine is of star-crossed lovers a la Hatfield and McCoy, or, you know, Romeo and Juliet, where you have two feuding families. It's about what happens when young romance goes astray by forces outside of your control. In this particular story, those forces happen to be two brothers, raised kind of like in a Texas Chainsaw like massacre family, who have been told that they need to collect souls for their dead mom. So the story itself is a really good exploitation slasher story. It is pretty gross and goes on some pretty like intense topics, but I find the characters really compelling and I really, really like this story, and some of the songs are heartbreakingly beautiful. That being said, as far as I know, there's no published companion media with this illustrated novella or novel or graphic novel that goes on to this, so I'm not going to really go over the full story, because pretty much what you would have is me reading off lyric genius annotations and what I can kind of pull together throughout my own interpretation of the story, and I already have to do that for No World for Tomorrow, and I don't really want to do that twice. Feel free to listen to it. There's also a second album published by the Prize Fighter Inferno called Introvert City, which was published in 2021. It has a lot of songs, audio processing his feelings about the pandemic, the shutdown, and the riots that were happening at that time. It covers a lot of different subject matter. There's actually a song that is based off of the Evil Dead movie, so that's pretty good, and there's also just some pretty awesome songs. The Prize Fighter Inferno is where Claudio really likes to like play with his music, so it's very electronica and it's very experimental. There's like a synthesized kazoo sound in one of the songs, and there's also, they use like the sound of a gun cocking as one of the rhythms, and it's really cool. I really like what they're doing with it, but it's kind of different. It's kind of different. So if you don't like the beeps and bloops, don't check it out. But if you're like me and love beeps and bloops, the Prize Fighter Inferno is pretty great to listen to. There's also an EP called Half Measures. It's not a concept album, but there are some pretty good stories in the songs. There's a story about Nightmare on Elm Street, and there's just other things. There's also a song in there with a really sweet harmonica solo. More songs need really sweet harmonica solos. Okay, so before we go, let's check the liner notes. There wasn't a lot of new characters and not a lot of new concepts, but there were a couple of them, so I want to go over. We have characters in order of appearance: Apollo, Claudio Kilgannon's dog; the priest, the 11 mages that used to rule with Wilhelm Ryan, now mutated by experiments. Lady Antaria resides on Dil Aruth 9 in Sector 12. Locations: Dil Aruth 9, a planet in Sector 12, where the prize find Lady Antaria. Concepts: The Son of Three, implied to be Claudio Kilgannon; the Book of Henningsgrad, the tome that spoke of the question, a prophecy; the Helionaut, Coheed Kilgannon. The story of the Amory Wars is just getting started. We are in for one wild ride. Since you made it this far in the video, why don't you feed the blood machine and like and subscribe? Until later, goodbye Chewbacca, I'm burning the Death Star.